You know that moment when everything around you is noisy and people are just shoving their opinions on you, and there are a lot of shoulds that are swirling around you, but something inside of you goes really quiet and it gets clear and sure. It doesn't shout or beg for your attention. It says, this is what's right. That's your intuition. That is your inner wisdom, your gut feeling. I also like to call it your inner yes. And when you hear that, trust it, because that's when the miracles really start. So let me tell you a story about one of my very personal sheroes, and that is Maya Angelou. Now, most people know her as one of the greatest writers and poets of our time, but what most people don't know is the moment that her inner yes completely changed her life, changed the direction of her life. It was in the 1950s. And Maya was working as a nightclub performer in clubs around San Francisco, which is where I live. And she was singing and she was dancing and she was really quite good at it. And it was steady work for her. It was paying the bills. And everyone around her said she should just stick with it because it was the sensible choice. But something inside of her kept tugging her towards writing. Now, not the glamorous kind of writing, just words. She just wanted to write stories, to tell the truth on paper. And her inner voice just kept whispering to her and then getting louder and louder. There are stories in you that need to come out. So everyone around her thought she was crazy. They thought she was crazy to consider leaving her steady work for the total uncertainty of writing. She was a single Black mother. It was in the 1950s, and that idea of a stable job wasn't something to give up lightly. But there was this inner yes that just wouldn't let her go. So she listened and she gave up performing and she started writing, even when she had no idea how she would make it work. Well, that decision to follow her inner yes led her to write her legendary book, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. This is a book that touched millions of people, and it helped her become known as one of the most important voices of the time. And none of that would have happened if she had stayed in what felt safe to her rather than what her inner yes was guiding her to. So I'm going to share with you 3 shifts to help you hear your own inner yes. And the first shift is that your inner yes feels like you are coming home to yourself. You know, it doesn't feel like excitement or adrenaline. It just feels like home, like you've been, maybe wandering around in places that didn't quite fit. And then you suddenly walk into a room where you can finally breathe and you feel like, oh, yes. And even when your inner yes is pointing you towards something that's totally unfamiliar, maybe it's a new city, a career change, or something in your relationship, there's this unmistakable sense of, this is right, or this is where I belong. It's not about the external circumstances feeling familiar. It's about finally feeling like yourself again. So your inner yes, it recognizes the difference between what might look good on paper and what actually nourishes the soul. It's the part of you that knows that when you're living someone else's version of your life and not your own, it just doesn't work. And when you follow that inner yes, you're coming back to who you really are. So I'm going to share with you the other 2 shifts, but if you're enjoying this video, make sure to click subscribe and turn on all the notifications, because I put out new videos just like this one every week, and that'll help you live a more miraculous life, and I don't want you to miss them. So here is shift number 2. Your inner yes speaks in the stillness, not in the rush of things. Now, we live in a culture that rewards quick decisions and immediate action, but your inner yes doesn't always operate on that same timeline. It often speaks in the stillness, in the patience, in those moments when we just stop trying to figure everything out and we just listen. Maya Angelou, she didn't wake up one morning and suddenly go, oh, I should be a writer. It was this gradual knowing that kept growing stronger each time that she listened or paid attention. Our inner yes is patient and it waits for us to get quiet enough to hear it. So sometimes your inner yes is going to ask you to slow down when everyone else is rushing around. And sometimes it's going to ask you to wait when there are opportunities that are knocking and it doesn't quite feel right. Trust your timing. Trust that your inner yes knows something that your logical mind might not know. It knows when you're ready. And then there's shift number 3. Shift number 3 is that your inner yes shows up in your body before it shows up in your mind. So long before your thoughts can catch up, your body already knows. Your inner yes lives in that just relaxation in your body, that softening of your shoulders, that deep breath that you take when someone speaks the truth or when you come across what you know is true. It's how your heart opens up or your chest opens when you hear, oh yeah, that matters, that's important. Your body is constantly receiving information that your mind hasn't processed yet. You know, you might feel a sudden heaviness when you're about to say yes, but it's the wrong thing to say yes to. Well, that's your inner wisdom speaking. Or you might feel a great lightness when you know you're moving in the right direction. That is your yes celebrating. So learn to listen to these physical cues because it's like having a direct line to our deepest knowing. Your inner yes, it's always there. It's waiting patiently for you to remember to listen to it. And it doesn't like to compete with the noise of the world. It just shows up as clarity. So here's what I suggest that you try. The next time that you're facing a decision, whether it's big or small, and you might want to start with the small ones first so you can get used to the feeling, take a moment to get still. I always find it helpful to put my hand on my heart. So you might want to put your hand on your heart and take a few deep breaths. And then ask yourself, what does my inner yes say? And don't think your way to the answer. Just feel your way there. Notice what makes your body relax, what brings a sense of, yeah, that's it. Your inner yes isn't asking for you that you have all the answers. It's just asking for you to take the next right step. And sometimes that one step, it can be a baby step, and it comes from just listening to that quiet voice inside. And sometimes that baby step is what changes everything. So tell me in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. What's one time that you followed your inner yes, even when it didn't make logical sense? I want to hear about it, and let's support each other in really listening to those inner yeses. You know, Maya Angelou said, there is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside of you. And your inner yes really is what knows your story. So let's listen. I encourage you to listen to that inner yes and watch what unfolds.